Hey, what's up? This is Gardetrace. Of Dragon Ball Z's big three villains, Frieza is the one that has made the most recurring appearances throughout the series. Unless you would like to count Majin Buu, however, the Fat Buu wasn't really the villain, it would actually be Kid Buu. Frieza has constantly been coming back into the series in one way or another, and when it comes right down to it, has that really hurt Frieza as a character? Frieza was a villain who was once a great intimidating threat, and this series was greatly selling that. However, Frieza has been reduced to being a villain similar to Team Rocket, where at first they're threatening, however, with their constant reappearances, they become less and less threatening with each one. So in this video, what we are going to determine is, has Frieza lost all credibility? Last year, I asked the question of if Gohan lost all credibility as well, so feel free to check out that video when you are done here. But anyway, when it comes right down to Frieza, when we're first introduced to him, of course, we are being sold. They are spending each moment selling us just how intimidating of a force that Frieza is, as Frieza is unlike anybody seen in Dragon Ball before him. And he is far stronger than anyone featured in Dragon Ball before him. And when Goku is on his way to planet Namek, King Kai specifically orders Goku not to engage Frieza. Of course, Goku being curious and wanting to fight strong opponents, he does want to meet Frieza, but King Kai is specifically telling him to not get involved with him. And when it comes right down to Frieza, even in his weakest form, he is far more powerful than anybody else within his organization. For example, take Captain Ginyu, who has a power level of 120,000. But then compare that to Frieza, who in his first form has a power level of 530,000. That right there is already a huge jump, and upon transforming the first time, his power level doubles. And then when you have Frieza at his absolute full power, his power level is 120 million. That is a fucking ridiculous power level. The numbers had gotten so goddamn ridiculous with Frieza. It's one of the reasons why we've stopped applying numbers to power levels after this arc, because they would just get too ridiculously high. They're already too ridiculously high. So that should really give you an idea of just who exactly Frieza is and why he's such an overwhelming force. We had the likes of Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo, and Vegeta all trying to take on Frieza, but none of them were a match to him, and by the time Frieza transformed into his fourth and final form, well, there was just absolutely nothing that any of them could do to stand up to him. Until Goku came along and gave Frieza a good fight. However, Frieza was just mostly toying with Goku that whole time, as Goku really didn't have what it takes to take him out. Even going Kaioken times 20 was barely enough to make Frieza go ow. And then the thing that really sells just how powerful Frieza is Goku drops a very huge spirit bomb on him, but Frieza lives to tell about it. And it is not until Frieza triggers Goku by killing Krillin does Goku even get the power necessary to defeat Frieza. And he and Frieza had an epic fight, which many people would agree is one of the best fights throughout the entire series, if not the best. But the thing about Frieza that's different from the likes of Cell and Kid Buu would be, unlike them, Frieza goes down like a total bitch. He doesn't get to lose with dignity the way they did. As Goku and Frieza were fighting, Frieza was burning through his power very fast, and he wasn't able to keep this up much longer. And this is something that Goku noticed, and he saw just how weak Frieza wound up becoming, and then he said, "You are not even worth fighting anymore." But of course, Frieza's confidence, Frieza's self-esteem is so shot that somebody is actually able to reduce him into being a bitch and showcase just how Frieza ain't the hot shit that he has been thinking that he has been for all this time. So this leads to Frieza doing some cheap shots where he gets caught by his own Destructo discs and cut in half for his trouble. And then Goku hands him some energy, that way he can move about and get and escape Planet Namek's explosion. But then of course he uses the energy to try to blast Goku in the back again, which of course leads to Goku blowing him to oblivion. So Frieza went down in an incredibly embarrassing fashion. And now let's contrast that to the likes of Cell and Buu. Now with Cell, he had the upper hand, especially when he had came back and had gotten that Zenkai boost as a result of him self-destructing. So he had gotten power that was way more than what Super Saiyan 2 Gohan had anticipated, and the two of them had embarked on an epic Kamehameha beam struggle, and Gohan won thanks to Vegeta distracting Cell for long enough for Gohan to overwhelm him. And in order to defeat Cell, he had to be destroyed down to the cellular level. All of his cells had to be completely obliterated to kill him. So he has one of the most epic deaths within the series. And then that also applies to Majin Buu, because in order to defeat him, Goku had to power one hell of a spirit bomb powered by the entire population of Earth to make a spirit bomb powerful enough to destroy Majin Buu at that same sort of cellular level as well. So both villains had gotten an opportunity to be taken out in epic fashion, whereas Frieza really gets thoroughly humiliated before going down. And the thing that makes things worse is that Frieza didn't die from that. He survives. He's floating in space where Planet Namek used to be, forearm cut off, his lower half of his body is gone, he's missing an eye, part of his head is blown off, so he gets picked up by King Cold, who reconstructs him as a cyborg, and then he goes to Earth to extract his revenge, and well, in what would go on to be Future Trunks' timeline, Goku kills both Frieza and King Cold. We don't know how the fight turned out, but they're both taken out by him. And it's implied that they were taken out quite effortlessly. And then when it comes to the mainstream timeline, Future Trunks travels back in time, encounters Frieza, and cuts him into ribbons and just completely obliterate him into nothing. It wasn't even a contest. Frieza couldn't even so much as touch Future Trunks, And Future Trunks really showcased how Frieza isn't a threat to anybody anymore at that point, as Trunks came back in time to warn Goku of a much greater threat. So, after all of the building up that Frieza got, he doesn't even get to go down with any shred of dignity whatsoever, as we're already moving on to the next group of bad guys who are more powerful than he is. So he gets rather unceremoniously defeated. They pretty much dropped a bridge on him. After that point, within the Dragon Ball filler, as well as within the movies, Frieza has just been the source of being an absolute joke. Because of course, during the Otherworld Tournament saga, when Goku and Pikkon visit Hell, they beat the shit out of Frieza, King Cold, Cell, and the Ginyu Force. And then you also have the likes of Fusion Reborn, where Frieza is one of the many people who escape Hell, and he encounters Gohan, who one-shots him. Frieza never even stood a chance, and he was so quickly taken out that it's like, at this point, he really has been reduced to being a Team Rocket-like character. And that even continues in Dragon Ball GT. And this is, of course, applying to Cell as well. But the thing about Cell is he made no more canon reappearances within the series. Whereas Frieza, he would go on to make another canon reappearance in the series, and that is through Resurrection F. So Frieza, he gets revived. He, of course, wants to extract his revenge on Goku and Future Trunks. This is where Frieza says that he has never trained at any point in time of his life, and now he is being forced to have to actually put forth some effort into something. So he trains for 4 months. We don't see what his training is. We don't even know what the fuck he actually does. Now, Dragon Ball Super shows us that he had Tagoma with him, and pretty much he was constantly beating the shit out of Tagoma. And all of a sudden, when Frieza comes back, we see that he has became drastically powerful, and he's even become God tier with his new golden transformation, making him on par with the likes of Super Saiyan Blue. But the thing about that that's absolutely ridiculous is the fact that if we're going to state that Frieza only became that powerful because he was constantly beating the shit out of Tagoma, that makes no fucking sense. It doesn't qualify as training if you're not challenging yourself. There is no way in hell that Frieza was challenging himself only from beating the fuck out of Tagoma repeatedly. And the thing is, Dragon Ball Super had the opportunity to explore what Frieza's training was, and it really didn't explain anything other than the Tagoma thing. And pretty much it is so fucking ridiculous that the writers themselves are expecting you to just go with it. But of course, anybody with at least 2 brain cells to rub together would know better than to just go with that, as it is just completely asinine and is one of the biggest ass pulls of the series, as there's no explanation to it whatsoever. But even with Frieza's ridiculous gains in power, it really doesn't help, because Frieza goes up against Goku. Now, Frieza showcased that he initially had more power than Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but even so, Goku was not threatened by Frieza at all. Because, well, Frieza has a glaring weakness, and it's actually the same weakness that plagued him before when he powered up to full power back on planet Namek. He burns through his energy really quickly, so he can't keep up that level of power. So pretty much the longer the fight goes on, the more it's gonna favor Goku, and of course it does favor Goku. And even after Goku drops his guard and Tagoma gets him, shoots him in the heart, landing that cheap shot on him, allowing Frieza to torture Goku after that, it really doesn't make any difference because Vegeta is there as well. He's also a Super Saiyan Blue, and he is more than enough to take Frieza out at that point. So Frieza decides to rage quit and blow up the Earth, but of course that gets undone by Whis' Deus Ex Machina time rewind ability. So Goku took out Frieza before Frieza could get the opportunity to blow up the Earth, and Frieza goes down in an incredibly embarrassing fashion. And when it comes to Frieza's personal hell, it's a very embarrassing place for someone who was once a galactic overlord like him to find himself within, because he's in a fairy garden surrounded by teddy bears laughing and playing with them all day long. So Frieza is just been reduced to an absolute joke by that point. Also, his story in Resurrection F is so inconsequential to the rest of Dragon Ball Super, as it really doesn't matter. And then of course we decide to bring Frieza back yet again to take part in the Tournament of Power. We replace Majin Buu because his fat ass keeps falling asleep before important fights. So we go to Frieza and he agrees to join Team Universe 7, and then we have the Tournament of Power. Frieza really doesn't do much of anything but stand around torturing the weaker fighters, and the only eliminations that Frieza has to his name are Frost, that Yardrat, Kaba, as well as Dispo, and he only got Dispo because Gohan sacrificed himself in order for Frieza to eliminate Dispo. So Frieza really hasn't been all that much of a help, or even been all that impressive to look at within the Tournament of Power. And then we've had the likes of Toppo reveal his God of Destruction powers and utterly hand Frieza his ass. Frieza gets humiliated in great fashion by Toppo. And then in the next episode, Frieza gets angry and decides to kill Jiren, but Jiren just hands Frieza his ass all over again. So pretty much between the two episodes, Frieza winds up right back to where he started. He just really circled around. So really, when it comes right down to Frieza, has he lost all credibility? I would say hell yes he has, because Frieza is no longer the intimidating force that he once was. Frieza continually gets brought back, and each time he is brought back, he looks less and less threatening. Frieza just is the one villain that doesn't get to have any sort of dignity. And right now, we have Frieza, who is still around for the Tournament of Power. Right now, Goku and Jiren are having their final showdown. So you know that this series is going to go in some predictable route where Frieza will likely wind up being the last man standing for Team Universe 7, and therefore get the Super Dragon Balls for himself. But no matter what Frieza wishes for with the Super Dragon Balls, even if he were to wish to regain all of his dignity back, not even the Super Dragon Balls would help because the damage has already been done. He's pretty much like Rocky, continually coming out of retirement. It's just Frieza has had his moment in the spotlight. It's time for him to step aside in favor of someone else. So what do you guys think of this? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Also like and subscribe for more content. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. Have a good day, everyone. This is Trace signing out.